Hello everyone, welcome to Marketing Research, MKTG 457. This is chapter 5. In chapter 5, let's talk about some qualitative research tools that you may encounter, okay, or you may use. Okay. After this chapter, you should be able to know some qualitative tools. Contrast qualitative research with the quantitative research. Qualitative versus quantitative. Okay. Know the qualitative research in exploratory research designs and basic orientations of qualitative research. Some common tools used in qualitative research. Okay. What is qualitative research? Let me give you an example. Think of a chemist. Chemist that does some experiment to determine the makeup of something unknown. Right? Let's say we have a meteorite from sky, right? And a chemist or geochemist or cosmochemist that I once used to be, and they want to use some term qualitative analysis to research so to determine the makeup of some of the components or makeup, the rock or the meteorite. Okay, in that case, the focus is not the quantitative aspect, what percentage of what kind of minerals are in the rock, but rather what makes up the rock, makes up the meteorite or moon rock. Is qualitative research. Chemists use that, right? The focus on the inner meaning of specific chemicals, their qualities, and not necessarily the quantities at this stage. Qualitative research is interested more in qualities than quantities. Okay? More interested in quality than in quantity. If we want to describe qualitative research, qualitative marketing research addresses marketing objectives through techniques allowing the researcher to provide elaborate interpretations of market phenomena without depending on numerical measurement. Instead, we focus on discovering the true inner meanings and new insights. Okay? And also, one thing you have to keep in mind, the qualitative research is researcher dependent. Okay? Researcher must extract meanings from unstructured responses, for example, text from a recorded interview or a collage representing the meaning of some sort. Okay? So depending on the person who is conducting the research. Okay? Use of qualitative research. Qualitative research is useful when, for example, when it's difficult to develop specific and actionable decision statements or research objectives, you may want to use qualitative. The research objective is to develop a detailed and in-depth understanding of some phenomena. You may want to consider qualitative. The research objective is to learn how consumers use a product in natural setting, or to learn how to express some concepts in colloquial terms. That's when you may want to use qualitative research. And also the behavior of the researcher is studying. The researcher is studying is particularly context dependent. Depending on the context, this behavior is taking place. Okay? And also a fresh approach to study the problem. You may want to consider a qualitative research. Okay? What about what are the relationship between qualitative versus quantitative research? right? Qualitative research can accomplish research objectives that quantitative research cannot, and vice versa. Okay? The key to successfully using either is to match the right approach to the right research context. Depending on the research context you're in, you want to choose a correct approach, a correct method. Okay? Quantitative market research on the other hand, addresses research objectives through empirical assessments that involve numerical measurements and statistical analysis. Of course, in this class, for the remainder of the class, we focus mostly on quantitative research. Okay, just so you know. Okay. Here is an example of showing the comparisons of qualitative research and quantitative research. You look at common purpose, qualitative discover ideas used in exploratory research with general research objects. And quantitative, you use that to test hypotheses or specific research questions. As to the approach used, qualitative, you use observation and interpretation. In quantitative, you use measurement and the statistical testing. As to data collection, for qualitative, it is unstructured, free form, and then quantitative is often structured response. Categories are provided. Okay? Researcher independence. Okay? Qualitative researcher is intimately involved. Right? Results are subjective. Right? Quantitative researchers is uninvolved observer, and results are more objective. The samples, qualitative small samples, often in natural settings. Quantitative large samples produce generalizable results that can apply to other situations. Most often used qualitative research, exploratory research, and then quantitative in descriptive and causal. Okay? So contrasting qualitative versus quantitative. Qualitative research results are researcher dependent or subjective. Right? Different researchers may reach different conclusions based on the same set of data. Okay? Qualitative research also usually involves smaller samples than typical quantitative study. Okay? And this is acceptable in discovery-oriented research. Smaller sample size does not necessarily equate to cost savings. Sometimes you have a few small sample size. If you do an in-depth interview, it could still be costly. Okay? Qualitative research and exploratory research. Qualitative data that are not characterized by numbers, but rather are textual, visual, or oral. Okay, that's qualitative data. Okay? The focus is on stories, visual portrayals, meaningful characterizations, interpretations, and other expressive descriptions. Okay? On the other hand, the quantitative data represents phenomena by assessing numbers in an ordered and meaningful way. Okay, so it's numbers. Okay. Idea generation. Qualitative research can generate ideas for example, new product, right? And advertising copy, the copy of advertising, promotional ideas, and product improvements ideas, right? And what are the checklists for a creative mindset? Yeah. Sometimes quantity leads to quality. Right? Wilder is better. Think wildly. Think outside of the box. Right? Do not judge. Do not easily judge. Just keep an open mind. Question assumptions. you question the assumptions constantly, you can come up with newer, better creative ideas. Okay? Probing is one qualitative tool. What is a probing? Probing is an interview technique that tries to draw deeper and more elaborate explanations from a respondent. It's in-depth interview. Okay? And it's useful for like clarification, for free-form thinking, and to pause, to contrast, to find more and further about meanings, and to change something. Okay. In concept testing, in new product development, we often use concept testing. Concept testing is a frequently performed type of exploratory research representing many similar research procedures, all having the same purpose. Okay? For example, to screen new, revised, or repositioned ideas. Okay? Concept testing process work best when they not only identify ideas with the most potential, but also lead to important refinements. Okay? This chart shows the two concepts for a restaurant. You see, if you want to establish a new restaurant, set up a new restaurant, right? And here you have some basic concepts, ideas about the restaurants. You can call this like a Hemanas, right, or Becca, right? The branding here is for Hemanas restaurant. Is a family-oriented, Cuban-themed, with a generous portion of a modestly priced food, middle level to low level. Becca is the upscale hangout for on-the-go individuals looking for a change of pace. Atmosphere, this Havanas, you have bright color, Cuban music all day and every day, with a restaurant built around the bar featuring a genuine 57 Chevy. Okay. And the Becca, you may want to have a muted color and stone walls giving the appearance of an oasis in an arid climate. Okay. Product assortment. What kind of food do you want to offer in Havana? Traditional Cuban slow cooking meats with generous size like black beans and fried plantains. Okay? Cuban sangria and a wide assortment of beer are featured. For the becca, you may want to offer a Lebanese meat sliced very thin with a traditional Middle-Eastern seasoning, a variety of pita breads, feta cheese, and yogurt radishes. Lebanese wines are featured and supplement and otherwise domestic collection. Price level, Havanas maybe $14 per person. For Becca, $26. Okay. Location for Havanas, you may want to have a suburban location around top 10 largest metropolitan area in the U.S. or Canada. And Becca, you want to choose a major SMSA, standard metropolitan statistical areas, and kind of places like Jacksonville, Florida. Okay? So just to show you where you want to use your qualitative research to test new product concepts. Okay? Qualitative research orientations. Major categories of qualitative research. There is the phenomenology. We'll talk about it just a minute. It's originated from philosophy and psychology. Ethnography is originated from anthropology. Grounded theory originating from sociology. Case studies originated in psychology and in business research. Okay, you can see that in marketing, we take things from many different subject areas. Okay. Phenomenology. What's phenomenology? This is going to be in your test. Okay, your next test. Phenomenology. Phenomenological approach to research is a philosophical approach to studying human experience based on the idea that the human experience itself is inherently subjective, and that determined by the context in which people live in. Do you believe that? Human behavior, human experience, inherently subjective, different from person to person, and is determined by the context we live in. If we live in a different context, we behave, we experience different things. Okay? And in this phenomenology, you seek to describe, reflect upon, and interpret experiences. Right? You relies on conversational interview tools to collect your data. Okay? Respondents are asked to tell a story about some experience that they had. Okay? That's phenomenology. One kind of approach in phenomenology is called the hermeneutics. What is hermeneutics? Hermeneutics is an approach to understanding phenomenology that relies on analysis of texts through which a person tells a story about him or herself. You analyze the text through which to study the person. Okay? It's understanding phenomenology. It's called hermeneutic unit. A hermeneutic unit in this case is a text passage from the respondent's story that's linked with a key theme from within the respondent's story or provided by the researcher. A text passage is your unit of analysis. Okay? One tool that we use is called word clouds. Okay? If you look at this cloud, this is word clouds here. What do you think? What do you see? What do you think is the subject? Or what is the topic? Or what is on this person's mind that this person is thinking about in this person's text passage? Okay? I'll give you a few seconds. Now a few seconds over. Now you probably think about this person is thinking about or experiencing, is talking about government, politics, right? Federal government, state government, things like that, Congress. Okay? So this word cloud is a graphical depiction of the frequency with which words occur. There are softwares you can use to put in just drop in a bunch of a text passage or maybe paragraph or a Word document. Okay? The ones that appears most often will appear larger. Okay? That's what you can get, like word clouds. Words occurring more frequently are shown in correspondingly larger typeface. You can easily identify it. This is also called a tag cloud. Okay? Word cloud, tag cloud. Okay? What do you think this is about? This is an example of a word cloud. I'll give you a few seconds. As you can tell, and many of you could tell that it is about the hotel experience, right? You can see the night, room, the smell of the room, and the king size bed, the humidity, things like that, right? It's about the experience with the hotel stay. Okay? And next, the qualitative tool that we use is called ethnography. What is ethnography? Ethnography represents ways of studying cultures through methods that involve becoming highly active within that culture. You immerse in that culture. Yeah, then you study the culture. It's a participant observation. You're a participant and also an observer. Ethnography research approach where the researcher becomes immersed in the culture when he or she is studying and draw data from his or her observations. I remember one journal article depicting where a doctoral student, I believe this is from Harvard, a doctoral student was studying the homeless behavior homeless, the marketing and the marketing of let's see, the consumption behavior of a homeless person in America. This doctor student actually spent a couple years immersed himself in some homeless people in a major city in the U.S. And he lived with them, ate with them, sleep, with them, sleep where they sleep, slept where they slept, and just completely immersed with them, observe, their behavior, consumption pattern, things like that. That was quite a fascinating study. It's quite interesting, insightful. Okay? Ethnography. One type of ethnography that is being used today is called netnography. As you can imagine, netnography. That's application of ethnographic procedures to online phenomena. Okay? Observation plays a key role in ethnography, as you can see. Right? The next tool is called the grounded theory. What is grounded theory? It represents an inductive investigation in which the researcher poses questions about information provided by respondents or taken from historical records. That's originated from sociology. So you can ask some key questions. What is happening here? Yeah, how is it different? Right? How is the things like that, and keep probing and probing. Yeah. How is grounded theory used? You can use text analysis, you can use computerized software, and you can use things like the word cloud, for use for analysis of the message here. Okay. Case studies. Okay. Case studies. What are case studies? Case study basically is documented the history of a particular person, group, organization, or event. Right? And the themes are identified by the frequency with which the same term or synonym arise in the narrative description. Okay? And how are the case studies used? You can use it's commonly applied to business. In business school, of course, we have a lot of cases. We use a lot of case studies. We have many cases, big cases. Okay? And primary advantage of case study is the ability to study an entire organization in depth with meticulous attention to details. So you can focus on the case. The case could be a company, could be an event, or people, group of people involved. Okay? This chart here, this table, Exhibit 5.4, lists common qualitative research tools. I want you to, when you study on your own, I want you to study that. Okay, you have tools such as focus group study, focus group interviews, depth interviews, conversations, semi-structured interviews, right? The descriptions, type of approach they use, ethnography, case studies, grounded theories, or whatever, and the key advantages and key disadvantages. Okay, when you study that and make note of that and know the difference clearly, know the differences, and this going to be appearing in your next test. Okay. This one continues, shows the word association, sentence completion, observation, collages, and thematic perception cartoon test. I'm sure you just a second. Okay. Focus group interviews. You've probably heard about the focus group studies all the time in politics. The politicians, they use focus group studies. They can gather up a bunch of people to ask them questions, talk about some issues. Okay? In business, in marketing, we use that a lot. A focus group interview is an unstructured, free-flowing interview with a small group of people, 6 to 10 normally, led by a moderator, oftentimes a researcher, who encourages dialogues among respondents. Why 6 to 10 people? You don't want to have fewer than 6, because you have fewer than 6, some people may dominate, dominate the whole conversation. Then you don't get opinions of everyone. Okay? So you want to have 6. Okay? Why don't you want to have more than 10? If you have too many people, then people will refer to others. They will refrain from talking, and they will depend on other people to talk. Then you don't get to hear their opinions. So 6 to 10 is the optimum. Okay? Advantage of a focus group is relatively fast. You can easily assemble a focus group. Okay? It's easy to execute. Okay? And they allow respondents to piggyback on each other's ideas. That's why do not judge, do not criticize, encourage them to piggyback on each other's responses or ideas. Okay? It can provide multiple perspectives. If you choose your focus group members wisely, there is a flexibility to allow for more detailed descriptions, and there is a high degree of scrutiny. Okay? Fourth group respondents. As I said, group composition 6 to 10 people, relatively homogeneous, right? With similar lifestyles and experiences. That'd be best. Okay? Focus group moderator, or oftentimes the researcher, is a person who leads a focus group interview and ensures that everyone gets a chance to speak and contribute to the discussion. Okay? Qualities of good moderator. You develop rapport with the group. Okay? You are a good listener. Okay? You try not to interject your own opinions onto others. Okay? You control discussion without being overbearing, but you're in control. Okay? Another tool that we use is called depth interview. Depth interview. What's a depth interview? Is a one-on-one interview between a professional researcher and a research respondent conducted about some relevant business or social topics. Okay? In-depth interview. Okay? One technique we use is called the laddering. Laddering. What is a laddering? Is a particular approach to probing that asks respondents to compare differences between brands at different levels. We call that laddering. Okay? It produces distinctions at the attributes level, benefit level, and the value or motivation level. Okay? Conversations and semi-structured interviews. Conversation is another tool. It's an informal qualitative data gathering approach in which the researcher engages a respondent in a discussion of the relevant subject matter. Okay, it's a conversation. A semi-structured interview is a written form that asks respondents for a short essay type of responses and to a specific open-ended question. It's open-ended question, right? It's a short essay form of response. That's why it's called the semi-structured. Right? If it's totally structured interviews, it'll be like closed-ended questions very often. Advantage of semi-structured interview: you can address more specific issues. You can responses are easier to interpret and can be relatively cost-effective without too much, from the requirement from the interviewer. Okay. And also there is another tool called the free association or sentence completion method. Okay. What's a free association technique? Free association technique, basically, you record a respondent's first cognitive reactions or from top of the mind, to some stimulus. Okay? Ask them to think of something, and what does this bring? What does it make them think of? What kind of things associated will be brought up by them. Okay, allow researchers to map a respondent's thoughts or memory. Okay? That's his free association. Sentence completion is another one. Right? You ask people to complete a sentence. For example, people who drink beer are what kind of person? Okay? You can ask yourself. And a man who drinks a dark beer is what? A man who drinks dark beer. Okay? Is what? Okay? Light beer. Light beer is most liked by what kind of group of people? Okay? Etc. Etc. Excuse me. Observation and collages. Observation and collages. Observation is a field note, the researcher's description of what actually happens in the field. Okay, and it becomes a text from which meaning is extracted. You can use software or use your own brain. Okay? It's advantageous for gaining insights into things that the respondents cannot or will not verbalize. Sometimes they cannot verbalize, or will not. And then you can use observation. You take your notes, right? And then you can try to extract meaning from that. Okay? Collages, basically respondents prepare a collage to represent their experience with some good service or brand. Then you analyze that. Okay, you analyze that for meaning. Okay, one tool that is used in the qualitative research is called the thematic apperception test, or TAT. Okay? Basically, you present the subjects with an ambiguous picture in which the consumers and products are the center of attention. Right? And then the investor will ask the subject to tell what is happening in the picture now and what might happen next. What is happening now, what might happen next. Ask them to use their imagination. Right? Picture frustration. Picture frustration is a version of the TAT using a cartoon drawing in which the respondent suggests a dialogue in which the characters might engage. Ask them to use a cartoon to suggest a dialogue. Like this one here. Okay? And the woman is sitting here, and the man is standing here. The man says, do you think we need to upgrade our networking software? And then you can use this picture frustration version of TAT to put in an answer by that woman. Okay? Projective research technique. Basically, projective research technique is indirect means of questioning that enables respondents to project beliefs and feelings onto a third party and inanimate object or a task situation. You ask them to project beliefs and feelings onto a third party. That's called projective research techniques. Okay? It's particularly useful in studying sensitive issues. The issues are so sensitive they don't want to talk about. Okay? There are some more modern technology and qualitative research tools, like facilitating interview using video conferencing technologies, using interactive media and online focus groups, right? And using focus blogs or focus vlogs, okay? And use social networking. Using social networking to collect data. Use software development to do that. Okay. Online versus face-to-face focus groups techniques. Okay. There are advantages and disadvantages of using online versus face-to-face. Okay. For online focus group, the advantages are that obviously it is fast, okay? It is inexpensive, and it brings together many participants from widespread geographic areas, online. The respondent anonymity can be assured, and transcript can be automatically recorded, okay? But there are disadvantages of online focus group. There's less control over who participates, okay? The participants cannot touch or taste something if you need to. And facial expression and body languages cannot be seen, okay? Cannot be easily seen. Where a face-to-face focus group, you can easily see their facial expression and body language, okay? Social networking. It is, I'm sure you're all familiar with that. You probably use that a lot. It's one of the most impactful trends in recent times. Okay? For many, social networking sites have become the primary tool for communicating with friends, both far and near, and known and unknown. Okay, I'm sure you all use some social networking software. Okay? The most well-known sites are like Facebook, Tumblr, and Twitter. Okay? Tumblr, Twitter. Okay? A large portion of social networking information discusses marketing and consumer-related information. Okay? And companies, you know what the companies do? They monitor these sites for information related to their own brands. Yeah, okay. Software development, there are interpretive software with AI enabled, help identify themes and connections within text. Examples are like Atlas, TI, and Vivo. Okay. Text mining is another software development. Modern predictive analytic software enables text data to be mined from various sources, for example, social networking sites, recorded conversation from call centers, and email contacts. Okay. Now let's talk more about group project. Okay, I'm going to send a notice in the announcement as well that you by now you should focus on an industry, a business or company. Look at the problem they have, maybe identify business issues to be made, and try to come up with a research question. Okay, and then the rest you can continue and do that as we go. Okay, I think that's all I have for this chapter. I'll see you next. Thank you. Bye, guys.